Hallo alle zusammen, es ist Montagabend, 20:30 Uhr und hier ist Mareike von Irish Whiskies und heute habe ich wieder Besuch aus Irland, diesmal von der Blackwater Distillery. Hello all together, it's great to have you here on my stream.
Vielen Dank für deine Zeit.
Hello.
Thank you. Yeah, so für alle, der Tim kann Deutsch.
Aber nichts gut.
Heute eure Fragen in Deutsch stellen. Er versucht sie auch in Deutsch zu beantworten. Peter ist für alles Englische zuständig. Okay, so let's switch to English. So Peter, maybe as you're the founder of the Blackwater Distillery, you can talk a bit about who you are and when the distillery was opened and everything like that.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, we started off, as it says on my shirt, where'd it go? Here you go. 2014. So 2014, we started, and we started making gin. And we made strawberry gin.
Yeah.
And they were very successful. And we kept making gin and trying to raise money to build a bigger distillery, because our first distillery was famously Ireland's ugliest distillery. You remember, Mareike? It's pretty horrible. But we did. It
was hard to find it.
Yeah, well, it's hidden. It's well hidden.
It's got character. It's got character.
It's got character. Yeah. So eventually, we raised a good deal of money, and we built a new distillery. And the idea there was to have a very nice building. And again, Mareike, it's nice, you would say.
Yeah. Really nice building. Yes.
Ballyduff.
Ballyduff, yeah.
Ballyduff, which means the Black Town.
Yeah.
It's on the River Blackwater. Literally, the river runs 100 meters down from the distillery. It's a really lovely part of the world. In fact, when I get my act together, we're currently writing a script. We're going to start filming a series of short films on the River Blackwater, starting at the distillery in Ballyduff and traveling downstream. So we should kick off in around 2 weeks, and they will be live. It won't be live because it's film, but they'll be me and my canoe paddling down the river and drinking responsibly and letting people know what's happening on the river as we go. So that'll be on all our channels because it's a beautiful river. Waterford, where we're based, is kind of Ireland's forgotten county. People tend to land and drive through Waterford going to Kerry or Galway. So we like people to come and stay because it's a beautiful country, and we've got 2 really good distilleries in Waterford. We've got Waterford Distilleries, our good friends, and Ned and the gang, and Blackwater. We're much smaller. We only started making whiskey about 18 months ago. We have a head distiller from America by the name of John Wilcox, Big John. And he's making some fabulous Johnny W. He's making some fabulous old-fashioned pot still whiskies, really lovely, and some really funky single malts, heavily peated, and that's coming on nicely. So to prepare everything for our whiskey launches in about 18 months' time, Tim there, who's our commercial manager, said he needs something to sell. So we had a good scratch of the head to think about what we might do, and we came up with Velvet Cap. Velvet Cap is an old brand which comes from the nearest big town to us, a town called Dungarvan, or as the locals call it, Fungarvan.
Yeah.
And
really nice town.
It's a gorgeous town, a little harbour, great restaurants. It's a lovely town. Well, the local Bonder brand was Velvet Cap. So until the 1960s, if you were buying a whiskey locally, it would be Velvet Cap. So we resurrected the brand, and well, we can talk about it more later on, but we kind of did a bit of historical work on how the brand was put together, and we try to reflect that in its modern incarnation. So now we make whiskey, we make gin, and Tim has us making vodka and hand sanitizer. So that's Blackwater.
Very good. So Tim, your job is to sell all the products.
Ja, für die letzten 2 Jahre, ich habe mit Peter gearbeitet und ich muss sagen, es ist ich habe 10 Jahre vorhin, ich habe mit Pernod Ricard, mit Jameson gearbeitet und das war eine unterschiedliche Erfahrung. Aber jetzt mit Peter und John und Caroline und die ganze Mannschaft in Blackwater ist es eine sehr gemütliche Stimmung. Und es gibt es ist ein das unterschiedlich Punkt ist, dass es ist nicht für Geld, es ist nur für Passion und so weiter. Für die letzten 2 Jahre, ich habe mit Peter und die Mannschaft gearbeitet für ein bisschen Export hier in Irland as well, für die Außendienst und hoffentlich in die Zukunft, wir machen ein bisschen mehr in die ganze Welt für Velvet Cap und Blackwater, Gins und unser Whisky. Wir mussten, ich glaube, 2 mehr Jahre warten für unser Pot Still oder Non-Compliant Pot Still warten. Aber ja, das ist sehr wichtig für uns, weil, okay, Velvet Cap ist ein sehr schönes Whisky, aber die Hauptpunkt für uns ist 2 Jahre vorhin, wenn wir warten für unser sehr, sehr lecker Whisky. Und die Leute mussten warten, aber es ist nur zwei mehr Jahre.
Sehr gut. So we have lots of viewers, and I just want to say hello to everybody. We have one from New York. We have lots of German viewers. So hello to everybody, and we wish you a nice evening with us, with our conversation. And we have a first question, nothing to do with whiskey. It's for Tim. Where have you learned your good German?
Ja, meine Mutter, für meine ersten 7 Jahre, ich habe Deutsch gelernt und dann, wie man sagt auf Deutsch, wenn deine Vater und Mutter sind nicht mehr. So für die ersten 7 Jahre, es war sehr gut und dann ich habe kein Deutsch gelernt für 10 Jahre und dann ich habe das nochmal gemacht in Universität in UCC in Cork City und dann ich habe in Wien gewohnt für 2 Jahre in Vienna. Und das war eine sehr schöne Erfahrung. Mit Jameson gearbeitet. So ein bisschen Whisky und ein bisschen Deutsch ist ein bisschen mehr einfach.
So maybe Peter is also talking a bit German after all the drinks we had tonight.
I understood that bit, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so maybe as we could start at the beginning of the distillery, maybe we could start with the gin, the Blackwater No. 5. I think that was the first product you have ever done at the distillery.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's the idea was, Mareike, was to make a really, really good gin. We developed this back in 13, 14. And at the time, there were no craft gins in Ireland. Jingle came out as we were preparing this, and then Glendalough came out just before us, but this was the third craft gin in the country. The idea really was to make a gin that will be a really good solid go-to gin. So we deliberately steered away from the idea of using local botanicals, and we went for something slightly more historic and a bigger picture. So I did a bit of research and I found out there was a company in Waterford City called White's. And White's of Waterford were spice importers. And actually to this day, Tim, maybe you don't know this, but on O'Connell Street, they're building, there's a very large corner shop that's now a sort of a
Asian
spice emporium, an Asian shop.
That's where I get my Asian stuff, yeah.
So that was their headquarters. So today it sells spices. Yeah, that was White's of Waterford.
Das ist nur 2 Minuten von meiner Hause hier jetzt, Mareike.
Ah, okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
So looking at what they were doing, they were bringing spices up from the West Indies into Ireland, and they would land them in Waterford, which is a really big port. And from Waterford, they would move across to Bristol in England, Plymouth, and London. So most of the spices that were used to make English-style gins or London dry gins were coming through Ireland. So we had a look at the kind of botanicals they were bringing in, and it was things like sort of cinnamon and nutmeg, and there was obviously juniper, coriander. So what I did over a period of time was I just distilled each of these ingredients separately to know what they tasted like. Because if you taste, say, we'll come back to this, if you taste a strawberry, it tastes a bit like a strawberry. If you distill juniper, it tastes like juniper. If you distill tea, it tastes spicy. It doesn't taste of tea. So you need to distill things to work out how they taste. And also then how much you need. So the denser something is, like a cinnamon stick, will give you much more flavor than a strawberry, which is mostly water. So we did this for a long time, trying to get the flavors right. And eventually got a combination that I think worked. So we basically tested it and gave it to people to drink, and we narrowed the recipe down until we got the final ingredients together. So there's nothing strange or wonderful. The most unusual thing, I suppose, in it is a kind of a berry. It's called myrtle pepper. It's a kind of an allspice, a variety of allspice. It's a very small, hard, like a peppercorn, and we grind it, and it just smells of Christmas almost. It's not quite cinnamon. It's not quite mace. It's just its own thing. Yeah. And that is the spicy note that I think is the core of this.
Okay.
That spicy bite. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
There's also, to push against that, there's a citrus. So the citrus is lemon. And we use Sicilian lemons. Beautiful. And we use bitter orange or Seville orange, like marmalade orange. So the back taste you're going to get a bit like marmalade. It's a classic flavor profile of a London dry gin.
Yeah.
So I suppose that was the idea, was to make something that would be a really solid contender. So wherever you were in the world or in Ireland, as long as you like a really good gin, you would go for this gin.
Yeah.
And it's all ingredients. We don't use any flavorings or any essences. This is all in the pot, distilled London dry style.
Das ist ein sehr wichtiger Punkt.
London dry, yeah. I really like it because it's nothing fancy, but it's a really good gin to drink. So
that was the idea.
Yeah, I had it in 2 online live tasting streams where the people can also they had the miniatures, and then we tried at one with some tonics, and at the other one with no tonics, with some lemonades and Coke, and so that was really crazy. But it worked out really well with your gin. It was really good. Yeah. So I don't like gin and Coke. The other people really liked it. I don't like it. But with some lemonade, it was really good. So
yeah,
a really nice gin to enjoy.
Schön.
Yeah. And what I think what's special about the strawberry gin is that we have the color. I think we can see it a bit at the bottle. But there is no color in it.
No, basically, this was a reaction against this. So this gin was not to use botanicals for the purposes of marketing. So everything in this tastes of something. It's there for a reason. Oftentimes you'll see a gin saying we're special because we use something I found in a hedgerow. Normally that's for marketing, not for flavor. It doesn't do a whole lot for the flavor profile. So the idea with this gin was not to do that. So to move against that, we decided, well, what if you were to get a local botanical and make it a star?
Yeah.
And that's where this came in. Because if you work out where we are, actually, there's the River Blackwater down there. That's the sea at the bottom. If you travel upriver to the bend in the river, which is just there, that's where the distillery was. And if you travel upriver towards the edge of the bottle, that's where the new distillery is. So, but this part of the world is in the southeast corner. It's called the sunny southeast, and it's very, very famous. I just picked these earlier on.
They are
soft
so
fruit.
good. They're so good, these strawberries. Yeah.
So whenever you're driving through Ireland, you'll always see road signs going Wexford strawberries.
Yeah.
Wexford strawberries.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be really cheap advertising. We should call it Wexford strawberry. And then anytime you're driving down the road, it's a free advert.
Yeah.
So all the strawberries we use in this are all grown for us in Wexford by a woman called Susan Kearns. And Susan runs a strawberry farm and supplies many of the big supermarkets. She's a lovely lady.
Okay.
But in about August, when strawberries are a glut and there's so many of them and they're too ripe for the supermarkets, she flash freezes them and keeps them for us. So then we get them all for frozen and we put them straight into warm alcohol. So you've got a frozen berry that's been frozen for a few months, so it's really hard, and it hits the warm alcohol and it kind of yeah. And what that does is it kind of extracts all the oils, because if you put this strawberry here into an alcohol, what'll happen is it'll just drain all the color. And you're left with a really weird looking white strawberry.
Yeah.
And it doesn't extract much of the flavor. You also got to remember that strawberries, as I said, are mostly water. But when you distill water, you get more water. Water tastes of nothing. But the biggest ingredient by a long way in our gin are real life strawberries. What we do is we have a very small still, it's about 30 litres. We fill that full of strawberries, 20. Fill it full of strawberries, and then we distill the strawberries separately.
Okay.
Because most of the strawberry flavor, the really strong flavor, comes at the very beginning of the distillation. And that's the very bit you don't want when you're making gin. Because when you're making gin, the most volatile oils from your orange and your juniper come across, and you don't collect those, you discard them. So if you distill your strawberries at the same time as your gin, you're losing most of the flavor. So we soak the strawberries and we distill them with rose hips to bring out the rose hip. Rose is the same family botanically as strawberry.
Okay.
We use rose hips and strawberries, and that's gives us the strawberry flavor. And then we have a distillate then, which we make with. It's different to Blackwater number 5. It's made with sweet orange and less lemon and softer botanicals that are just going to let the strawberry shine. We don't use artificial flavors, so if you buy a strawberry yogurt and you taste it or you smell it, you get that really artificial strawberry taste. So you won't get that here, because that's just strawberries. So it's quite subtle, and it's best drunk as a long drink. It's really, really good. I like it with strawberries, black pepper, and a bit of basil, and then you can add tonic or you can add soda, and it's lovely.
Yeah, that sounds good. We have a question. How can you get a whiskey fan excited about gin?
Hagen, you drink our gin, then you'll be very excited. I would actually say you should try our juniper cask gin. Actually, it's there's only a little bit left. Actually, I think Peter says we'll probably do a little bit more next.
It's pretty much gone, I'd say, at the moment.
Yeah, it's great. In the
you won't get him excited, but you can't have that.
Yeah, true that.
Hang in there, Hagen. We're going to get to whiskey in a moment, but you got to remember, we're a small distillery. We've got no big backer. We've got no multinational. All the money we use to run the distillery, we earn through making gin. So for us, gin is really, really important, not only because it earns us money, but because I like a good gin. And these are good gins. But without these, there would be no whiskey.
Yeah.
So there.
Very good explanation. Yeah. I think in Ireland, for a lot of new distilleries, it's very important to have the gin, because you can earn money much faster. Yeah. You don't have to wait until the whiskey is ready.
No, because if you're making whiskey, Mareike, you make it today. Like we made whiskey today in the distillery. I can think of no other business where you make something, okay? When you make it, you put it into a wooden barrel where it evaporates Okay, and then you lock it in a room for at least 3 years, and you can't go near it, and all the time it's evaporating. And then only after 3 years can you think about possibly selling it. It could be 5 years. Meantime, it's just costing you money. You're not earning anything.
And yeah, that's right.
It makes no sense, Tim. Why are we doing this?
I don't know. Will I get my code?
You're a numbers guy.
I think we have the perfect bridge to the Velvet Cap now.
Yeah.
Because there is also another way to earn some money before the whiskey is ready.
I believe that's called a segue. Hello.
Yes.
Sorry, Tim, you were going to say?
The really nice bottle.
No, nothing. I suppose reality is, ich kann das vielleicht in Deutsch sagen. Es gibt jetzt in Irland, 10 Jahre vorhin, es waren nur 3 Distilleries in Irland und jetzt, glaube ich, es 33. So, es gibt sehr schnell, und normalerweise ist die Distilleries in Irland sind 3-mal destilliert, ein bisschen Sherry, ein bisschen Bourbon und das ist das. Aber jetzt, ich bin sehr spannend, vielleicht ist das Wort, weil unsere Mission ist es, sie zurückzubringen, wie irischer Whisky früher geschmeckt hat. Und ich glaube, das ist der Hauptpunkt für uns. Okay, wir brauchen Gin, die letzten 2-3 Jahre, wir brauchen Gin, aber die Mission jetzt ist, ich habe das gesagt, wir wollten zurückzubringen, wie irischer Whisky früher geschmeckt hat. Und das ist sehr wichtig. So Velvet Cap ist nicht unser Whisky, aber es ist ein sehr schönes Whisky. So es ist auch 3-mal destilliert, wie so die andere normales Whiskys in Irland jetzt. Das ist normal. Aber vielleicht, wenn wir, Peter will be doing double distillation, won't we? Realistically, yeah. Perhaps you can talk a little bit about why we're doing double distillation. I was just saying that everyone in Ireland, it's a little bit of a copy and paste. So it's a bit of sherry, it's triple distilled, it's all smooth. We're kind of going down the track of just flavor.
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing for us in making whiskey was to make the best whiskey we possibly could and try to give consumers the most flavor. I always think about what Blackwater tried to do is to put as much flavor into things as we possibly can. That's kind of what we love doing. So we would not make a whiskey that was just like, so what? Yeah. Triple distillation, for me, it's interesting, but if you triple distill something, what you're doing is you're getting more ethanol. Ethanol doesn't taste of anything, okay? If you want more flavor, then you reduce the amount of distillation and the way you distill. So we never collect above about 70%. So when we do a distillation run, it's around 69, 70%. Now you can go as high as 93, 94% in Ireland, which is basically nothing. Why would you do that? Well, you will do that if you want to make a mass market product and you want to make it for very little money and you want to sell it in supermarket shelves all across the world. We're small, we can't do that. So I want to make whiskeys that I would like to drink. So that was always the idea. Double distillation, I think, plays to the advantage of what we're trying to do, which is to use grain. So for us, the story is about the grain. Now, Waterford have a story about grain, which is all about barley and provenance. And it's really interesting. And what they're saying actually is true. Our story is different because it's not about barley, it's about grains. So we use barley, we use malt, we also use wheat, oats, and rye. And sometimes we use all 5 of those in the one whiskey. Each of those tastes of something different, doesn't it, Tim?
Ja, und ich muss sagen, es ist ein sehr alte gemischte Rezepte. Das war normal. 200 Jahre vorhin, das war was irischen Whisky war. Und ja, so vielen Roggen, viele Hafer, Melz, Grünmelz und alles zusammen. Es ist wie so, wenn du machst eine sehr schöne Semmel. Viel mehr, wie man sagt auf Deutsch, Ingredients. Zutaten. Ja, wenn du hast mehr Zutaten, ja, natürlich, es schmeckt viel besser.
Ja.
Wenn du hast nur einzeln Malz, okay, du kannst ein schönes mit ein schönes Finish machen mit Sherry oder Bourbon, aber wenn du hast 4 oder 5, es ist wie man sagt auf Deutsch, Wahnsinn. Wahnsinn.
Ja. Auf jeden Fall.
Ja.
We need to go a bit back to the gin, because here we have some. So whiskey fans drink gin because otherwise you don't get new whiskey fans. I think that's a bit interesting. And then we go to the casks. We have to drink a lot of sherry for the casks and gin for the distilleries. Very good. And Kevin, he is an Irish guy living in Germany, so he's loving your accent. Now he knows how he may sound. That's very good.
Tim, you pulled.
Happy days.
Yeah, and here, well, apart from whiskey, I drink also rum and port. They make good finishes as well. Very good. Yeah. We can get more casks of that. And Hagen thinks maybe more beer finishes. So that's just not just saving the rainforest.
Ja, und auch mit Velvet Cap, wir arbeiten mit einem sehr gutes Brauery. Es heißt O'Hara's Long for Long Stout. Und es ist in meiner Meinung die beste Foreign Extra Stout Welt. Es ist 6,7 oder 7% alkoholisch, so es ist ein bisschen mehr Zutaten in die Flasche. Und das war 50% für Velvet Cap ist mit dieser Bier, aber vielleicht nächstes Jahr wir arbeiten mit ein anderes Brewery, keine Ahnung. We were just saying, Peter, maybe next year we'll work with another brewery for the Foreign Extra Stout, but
that goes back to
but that goes
the whole point of the whole point was to play with history. So although nowadays people tend to use bourbon casks in Irish whiskey and in whiskey generally, that wasn't in Ireland. There was no bourbon casks really before the Second World War. So in the 1950s it started happening. You go back earlier, it's all beers and stouts, and it's fortified wine like port and sherry. So Irish whiskey was a very different drink to the drink we drink today. So we're trying in a way to look at what made Irish whiskey so fantastic in the past, what's been forgotten, and what we can learn from the past. So part of that is Velvet Cap. So when I was doing some research on the original brand, if you go to Blackwater blog, there's 3-part blog about Velvet Cap. It tells the story of how we made it. Part 3.
Interesting. Really interesting.
It is, isn't it? It contains letters that were sent from the people who owned the brand, which is a company called Powers. They're not Powers Whiskey. Powers is a common name here. But they ran an importing business. They'd import sherries and ports, and they make soft drinks. But it's worth looking at that blog, because in there I've reproduced some of the letters that they wrote to the distilleries requesting whiskey and talking about casks. So that's a small portion of what I uncovered, but it helped us to shape this. So I told John Wilcox, our head distiller, I told him the story and I gave him papers, and then he went away to think about how we might bring that up to date. So as Tim said, in German, we had a focus on stout casks. So there's quite a lot of stout casks in this. There's also not just stout, but rye casks from America that have held stout, and then they hold whiskey. And there's also bourbon, and there's also port. So all those finishes kind of come together to create this. So although it's not a replica for what went in the past, it's a nod to history.
Yeah. Okay. We have, according to the beer, because you just mentioned it, another question. I love stout and red ale. Does red ale also work for a finish?
Actually, that's a good question. I do not know, actually, Peter.
Yeah. You haven't done it yet. Yeah. We might try that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a new idea.
Yeah.
I think it would work. Yeah, I think it would. I mean, I personally love red ale. It's probably one of my favorite types of beer. Yeah. I don't see why it wouldn't work.
You're using similar malts, like you're using darker malts in the red ales anyway, so could work. And it's just a nice sweetness to red ales.
Yeah, he thinks also in the red egg cause there are certainly also a lot of leftover sugars. So yeah, maybe it's something also interesting. And what I can tell the people is that the velvet cap is something you are really developing for a long time, because when I was visiting you last year in summer, I know you showed me the pictures of the velvet cap and we were talking about the idea. So this is nothing was just happened during the last 2 months. So it's a whiskey which was really planned and done with lots of work.
That's a good point, because we were very anxious not to do it too early and to do it properly. So we haven't pretended we have made this whiskey. We've deliberately chosen a brand that already existed. This brand was only ever a bonder brand. It was never a brand owned by a distillery. And this is not the brand we will use for our own whiskey.
Yeah.
So it'll be a different brand again.
Yeah.
So we're trying to be as honest as possible. Our own whiskey, because of the size of the company, will be more expensive. So the idea was to do something that was a really good value whiskey. Not too expensive, affordable, but drinkable. Because I spend most of my life buying my own whiskey, as opposed to the days before gin influencers, I would have to buy whatever I wanted to taste. So I've spent most of my life buying whiskey. So I know what it's like to go into a shop and hand over 100 and whatever euro and get a bottle of whiskey back and taste it and go, oh God.
Yeah.
I know the pain.
Yeah.
But I also know the joy of going into a shop and paying an awful lot less, getting a whiskey, tasting it and going, oh wow, yeah.
Oh, very good.
That's great for the money. That's really good.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted to do.
Yeah, that's really good. And I like that you didn't mention Blackwater Distillery on the label, because then you know this is not from the Blackwater Distillery. You created the whiskey, but you haven't made the whiskey. So that's very good.
Yeah, we try to be, as a company, we try to be as transparent and as honest and as open as we can be. And the back of the bottle kind of sets out, you can't read, it's too small, but it kind of sets out the story, so you can kind of get a sense of why we did it. And again, the whole journey is on our website. There's 3 blogs. You can read the whole thing, including the nightmare we had actually at the very, very end because of COVID. We couldn't leave the distillery to go and do the final blend. It had to be done by remote control. So it's all there, and we like to be honest with people.
Yeah. I think you have always been honest with the people, and you are writing really good blog articles, and I really like to read them. And I also like to read the things sometimes you say, is everything right? What's going on in the Irish whiskey industry, and could we do something different? And I really like to see that you are a person who's also working with all those different cereals, creating new recipes for the whiskeys. And I tried lots of your new makes last year, and they were great. I really, really like them. And I think in every tasting I tell the story that I'm really looking forward to your whiskeys. Because
I'm very happy.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, if we talk about the grains, because I think that's what's most interesting, is Ireland's gift to world whiskey is oats, where in all Irish whiskey until it was a monopoly. It was one company left and they stopped. So if you look at the entire history of Irish whiskey up until early 70s, late 60s, there's always oats. And when you distill oats, like today, we returned to making some more oaty whiskey after a while doing other things. And John was going, oh, I love oats. I just love oats. The mouthfeel, and I like, just, you haven't noticed, Tim, but John said today, he's learned a lot over the past month. We've been trying to play with other things like single malts and rye and apple brandies, trying different yeasts and different temperatures to try to work our equipment harder to get a better return. So today our yields are up about 10%, because the problem with mixed mash bills, and probably the reason that they fell out of use in Ireland, is the yields are lower. so you get less alcohol for your money. So if you're in an industry that's rapidly going downhill, everyone's cutting costs and everyone's going out of business, then the accountants maybe came in and went, "I just stop that with the oats and the rye and that. Just stick with the barley and the unmalted barley, full stop." And that way your yields aren't too miserable. But when we started out, our yields were awful. And it's taken us 18 months to build the knowledge of how to remake these whiskies using those 5 grains.
Ja.
Ich muss sagen, unser Hauptdistiller John Wilcox ist unglaublich für diese Stelle.
Ja, ich habe ihn nicht kennengelernt, wie ich da war, weil er vorher einen Unfall hatte, aber was ich an Bildern gesehen habe und schon gehört habe, also ich freue mich, ihn kennenzulernen. Ja.
Er sind jetzt, ich glaube, in der Nähe von 2 Jahren hier in Irland. Und er wohnt jetzt in Dungarvan. Das ist nur eine halbe Stunde von uns. Und ich glaube, wieso unser Whisky, er braucht ein bisschen mehr Zeit, aber in 2-3 Jahren, ich hoffe und ich glaube, unsere Whisky sind ein bisschen sehr interessant gegen unterschiedliche Distilleries in Irland.
Ja, glaube ich auch, ja. Yeah, so Christian, I know him. He really, really loves the Rattling Out.
I have some over here.
Favorite whiskies. No, Peter's getting a bottle. Christian, look, there is another bottle of Rattling Out.
Yeah, there's a few left actually. We have I think we only have around 100 bottles left, 120 bottles left. And then once it's gone, it's gone. Home store.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Maybe I should order some more next time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was really good whiskey.
And as Peter would probably tell you, it's probably the best.
It's all gone.
Yes,
all best. Gone. Yeah, it's a good whiskey.
It's a 17-year-old single malt, but it's probably like for 115, 120 euro a bottle. It's probably the best price 17-year-old single malt out there.
The idea was when we started building the distillery in Ballyduff. What we thought we'd do is we would celebrate, and we would do that by releasing a whiskey. So I asked around to see what I could find, and I was tasting a lot of whiskies, and they were okay. And then I had a sample of the 17-year-old. Whoa,
yeah.
This is good. We only got, I think it was 4 casks, and that was it. So it's all bottled as Retronaut and released on the market. There's very little left, as Tim said. I don't even know if we have 100 bottles.
Yeah, probably not actually.
I don't think we do. I think we're down to double figures certainly. But yeah, seriously, for the money, and this is the other thing too, you got to be careful in Irish whiskey because price points are important. Like you can't compare, proper 12 to Redbreast. They're different products at different price points.
Yeah.
So you've got to bear that in mind. So at this price point, I think that's a really good whiskey.
Yeah.
Retronaut at that price point, I think, is an exceptional whiskey.
Yeah.
We deliberately priced it at not being greedy. We weren't trying to make money. What we were saying is, we're now building a whiskey distillery. We're going to be whiskey distillers. Here's a calling card. And I think I said on the box something like, I just found this whiskey. I was so impressed with it. I had to buy all of it or something. That was it. It was just something, little project. Let the world know we were out there. So there's very little of it left, and it won gold. I think it was Irish Whiskey Awards. Single malt.
Something. Yeah.
So it's something award, something. But yeah, it's really good. So if you do see it, please do get it because it won't happen again. We're not doing any more Retronaut. Not going to happen.
Yeah, there's a few.
No way.
You can actually go onto our website. I think there's a few bottles on our website. All right, for sure. That's a plug.
Yeah, that's Ireland only.
Oh, that's Ireland only. Sorry, so that's not a plug for our website.
Okay.
Mareike, you will have.
Oh, Mareike, she's losing money here.
Mareike, you're going to have to buy some more.
Yeah, I buy some more, and then they can buy it from my website. And
I'll chat to you after the call. Yeah.
yes. So Tim, there are some greetings for you.
Oh, that's my cousin. Jesus, that's a small world.
Oh yeah. I think there's a bit more from your family watching here.
God,
That's good.
That's great. That's great.
Here's another comment for you. That's Stram. Good evening, all. Timmy, sorry to say you need a haircut.
Yeah, definitely. My mother as well has been giving out to me about. I think now is the time legally. I suppose I had to wait. Now is the day I can actually legally go into a hairdresser's. But
yeah.
I'm liking the lazy look at the moment, so I'm just going to go with the flow.
Yeah,
excellent.
And we have another, and then we have a real question.
Yeah.
Do you all malt the oats, or do you just crisp them directly?
All right, good question. We do both. I think we're the only people in Ireland to have peat malted oats. So we made a whiskey where the peat content was from the peated oats, not from the malt. So the malt was unpeated, but the oats were peated. And that's a lovely whiskey. That's John's second favorite, I think. That's the a recipe from 1890 something. That one. It's really lovely. But mostly the oats are unmalted. Mostly. We just get they're grown for us. All our grain, every grain we now use is grown in Ireland. All our grain is Irish. Initially, we did use some imported rye because I couldn't get any rye in the country. We now have rye grown for us. The oats are grown for us, as is the wheat. We also have heritage varieties of barley like Goldthorpe and Hunter, which we distilled last year, which are very, very different. I mean, whatever about the difference in a field, like back to Mark Rainier, whatever the difference between two fields of modern varieties of barley, and there is a difference, two fields of barley, one which is a heritage and one which is a modern, or two different heritage varieties, they are night and day. You don't have to even think about the difference. Did you taste the Hunter?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Me, is it?
Oh yeah. Did you taste the Hunter?
Yes, I did actually. Yeah. And I was just about to say on that, like with the, that's why the new make tastes are like I would love to actually just sell the new make constantly if I could, because when you actually, I think I sent you a bottle of the new make, Mareike, didn't I?
Yeah, that was in the package.
That was the right. But if you were to try, say, we're kind of honing in on maybe 5 or 6 periods in time with all different mixed mash bills, but when you actually try them side by side, that's interesting. That's when it really opens your eyes into the importance of provenance and different varietals of mash bills, because that's really where you see the value. And that's why I think people will pay more and pay a premium for something like that, as opposed to just, here's a blend, throw it into some sherry or oak casks, and away you go. That's kind of a copy and pasting that's been happening for years in the Irish context. But I think why Peter and Blackwater and the whole project is so interesting is that it is just bringing you back to a period of time where essentially you're what we're trying to do is nearly try and taste the whiskey that our grandparents and our great grandparents were probably tasting back in the day. And obviously there's a riff on that. It's going to be different for sure. It's not going to be exactly the same, but the whole element of mixed mash bills is where it gets really exciting. And that's why Peter and that's why John and everyone is doing it.
Because
maybe you should think about doing a tasting kit of the different.
Oh, we will.
That would be something very interesting. Then I sell them, and then we do a stream again, and people can try with us.
Well, what we will do, Peter, sorry, just to cut across you here, what we're going to do is Dan, who's he's actually doing soccer training at the moment with his child, but we were actually talking about this recently, and what we're going to do is, if anyone's listening tonight, please sign up to our community online, and over the next 3, 6, 12 months, we will be building up a little bit of special releases for specifically for the community, and we'll send some new makes to you guys as well. probably at a small cost because nothing in life is free. But we just sign up to the community, and what we'll do is we'll send out some sample packs over the next course of the year, because that's what's the fun and not kind of sharing experience, well, kind of learning as you go as well, you know.
Yeah, that's
last summer we did that last summer. We in Dublin we had a tasting of 5 different or 6 different new makes that we made. Just to let people know what we were doing and to get their reaction. It's great fun. The sample you got, Mareike, is the 51% rye. That's a work in progress experiment. That's not core whiskey for us. It's part of the fun things that we do to learn more about the distilling, mashing, brewing, fermenting process.
Yeah, that was very good. I have some
nice.
Left. Yeah, it was when you sent me over the Velvet Cap, and I went online for a stream, and then I just tasted it live for the first
I remember.
time.
Oh yeah, cool.
And I was like, wow, what a whiskey. And this was not like, I have to say it because I'm in front of the camera. It was like, that's a really, really good whiskey, and I really like it, because when I don't like something, I say it. And
Classic German.
Here, Mark went come here. Hi, Mark. He said, hi guys, since last weekend, I love the Irish stuff. He's one, he tasted some Irish whiskies, but he was coming to me and said, Mareike, what do you think about doing an online Irish whiskey tasting at my channel? And I was like, yes, of course we can do it. And then we worked together with a retailer, and he fed me some samples and he sold them, and both of them were like Irish whiskey. I was like, I just, it was, you could see it that they were like Irish whiskey. And after the stream they were like, Irish whiskey, that's very good. It was like, I told you, you just have to taste the right whiskeys.
It was
That's it. And I think the category, Irish whiskey category is going to get really interesting in the next few years, because what's happening now is the distilleries are starting to release their product. So you Dingle, and you had Drumshanbo, and who else? Waterford, clearly. And I think this year we've got Connacht releasing theirs, and then after that, there's like a wave of them coming between now and about 2024, 25. And I think if you look 5 years into the future, Irish whiskey will be an interesting category if we don't screw the whole thing up. Right now, it's getting interesting. It's been boring for a very, very long time. I think it is getting interesting, and there are some quality products out there right now. You just need to know what you're looking for.
Yeah, we have here, Thomas is asking where he needs to sign up for the community.
If you go to our website, at the very bottom of the website, there should be a kind of a community sign up option.
Let me check if I can find the link, and then I can add it to the comments.
Yeah.
So here, join your community signups. Okay, I just posted.
Hey,
yeah,
it works.
So that's going to evolve over the next while. I suppose we're only really getting started.
We're just starting.
We're just starting, yeah. So this is where the fun begins.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, and I think with the Velvet Cap, this is also something. It's an Irish whiskey, it's 35 euros here in Germany, and for all the ones who would like to have
billige in Deutschland gegen Irland. This is
lower alcohol tax.
Yeah.
Good old government.
Just 5,000 bottles, so it's a limited release. We have some bottles, and it's also something different. It's a different Irish whiskey, and I think you have to taste it, because it's not like a Jameson or a Bushmills, or it's not the taste you would think about Irish whiskey. And this is something I really like, because Irish whiskey can be so different.
What we try to do here is, people should know, this is when John and I were kind of designing this, the idea was to make a very approachable whiskey that you could drink straight. or would take ice, or would take a mixer. So it had to be pretty inclusive. Had to have quite a soft mouth feel. Otherwise, you couldn't drink it straight. So we went with a mix of double distilled malt and grain, 50-50. So half and half. And what we do is we take that and we marry the whiskies together. And then we fill our casks. So those casks would be the stout casks or whatever. They are then filled. And those casks have previously held other products like, as I say, stout for at least 3 months, could be up to 6 months. So then we do the blend and then fill the cask. And then those casks are put away for another 3 to 6 months. And then that's all put into a vat and stirred and bottled. So the whiskies have a chance to rest and marry together in wood. And that's it's not unique. It's more expensive, it's more difficult, but it does help. I think that and the stout finish and that little sort of pop of port at the end, I think is what makes the whole thing a much easier to drink whiskey than your standard entry point. So we're trying to add value. And again, everything we do when we're making our whiskies currently in the building, because we don't have a backer, we know we have to sell whiskies at 3 years. We have to, because we need the money. So we are distilling them in a way that they can be sold as decent whiskies at 3 years. And we do that by taking a narrower cut. So if we're distilling for 5 or 7 years, the cut is much wider in the top and bottom, mostly the bottom. And we just squeeze the cut for 3 years. So we're deliberately taking out some of the stuff that you would expect to evaporate over time. So we're playing around with these techniques, just trying to bring value to the customer all the time in everything that we do. And that, again, is one of the reasons we did Velvet Cap, was to play around with how we might look at wood finishes in our own products.
And it is rare, like Peter touched on it there, but like to have a triple cask finish under €40 is a good going, coupled with the fact just to our own whiskies and the narrow cuts. Like the stills that we have are actually grappa stills, so they're extremely oily, and it allows for quite a lot of flexibility as well, which is exactly what we wanted to do with John and Peter's whole project, really. So.
I mean, the stills, as Tim said, make a really oily whiskey. When you're distilling things like oat and rye, that's what you want. You want that fat, oily mouthfeel. Yeah.
What I try, maybe we can show the people how your stills look like. We can show up a picture, the one we have in the background. I just need to open it, and then we can show it.
Here's the one we made earlier.
Do you see it?
Very good.
Yeah. So it's a bit small, but maybe people can see it, and you can.
So if you look at the stills now, you'll see. Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah. Good.
See, they're very unusual. As Tim said, these were originally produced as grappa stills by a company called Frilly. Frilly made the stills for Teeling in Dublin, and these stills were built in the late 80s. And they don't make those stills anymore because they're too expensive. If you look at them, you'll see that the neck, and you've got the onion ball on top. And then you've got the line arm, which is like a loop. It's quite different. Now that neck has got coolant in it, so it's quite possible to run coolant through the neck, which slows down the entire distilling process. If you look at the two straight poles in the middle, they are the cooling towers, and unique in Ireland and possibly unique in whiskey production anywhere in the world are those. Why they're unique is there's two ways that you can cool spirit. The old-fashioned way, which is a worm, just a copper worm, with water all around it. The modern way is a thing called shell and tube. It looks more like a honeycomb, and they make for very different spirits. What we have here, the top half, is shell and tube. and then the bottom half is worm. And if you look at this kind of pieces out the front, there's like bits, you can barely make them out. Bits come out of the front anyway. What you can do is you can direct the vapors to go into one or both of those parts of the cooling tower. So, and if you do that, and you can play with your cooling temperature, if you want to run it, say, quite hot, close to 30 degrees, or quite low, down to your teens, that will change the mouthfeel and the oil that you're extracting. And depending on if you put it through the shell and tube, you'll get a much lighter aromatic spirit. If you put it through the worm, you get a much fatter, oilier spirit. So we have massive flexibility in the stills to make different kinds of whiskey. So not only are they different in the way we distill them, but they're different all the way back to where the story begins with the grains we use. That's quite technical. I don't know, Tim, if you want to explain any of that in German.
Oh my gosh, ich glaube, ich brauche noch.
And I'll do it in Italian.
Yeah. We'll take that off air, Mareike. Yeah. It's wie man sagt auf Deutsch, sehr cremig und sehr ölige Textur und es ist, wie man sagt auf Deutsch, sehr flexibel. Es ist sehr, in Irland, es gibt so viele Distilleries, dass es die Hauptspirit ist nur 3-mal destilliert und nicht so viel, das Kotze nicht so groß, aber uns ist sehr, sehr kurz und daher hoffentlich wir brauchen die Endproduct sind ein bisschen mehr cremig, ein bisschen mehr öliger und hoffentlich ein bisschen mehr Flavor in die Zukunft. Aber du musst warten, 2 mehr Jahre.
Ja. So lange dauert es noch.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think it looks very interesting, and maybe we can see here a bit of the old wood from the distillery. So I really like the building and how the distillery is built. So it's not a typical distillery, not a really
it's actually
not a visitor center. It's working distillery.
Open for tours. Well, COVID obviously we were due to be open for tours in March, but now it's kind of more minimized in terms of our tourism guide this year, but we'll get into the flow of it. I'm sure Caroline, Peter's wife, who's also a director, will kill me if I say we're open for tours now, but technically, legally speaking, we could do small run tours, 2 or 3 social distancing tours at a go now. But we're like, our distillery is not made for 20, 30, 40 people to come in. It's all about just more private. If you want to come in and even make some whiskey with us, that's an option as well, So we actually had some South Africans that came in around a year and a half ago, and all they wanted to do was just sit down, listen to the stills, and listen to John play the fiddle and Peter waffle on about whiskey, which is exactly what
Yeah, but it's so nice to sit down there and we'll look at the distillery, have a drink, and I know I got a gin tonic and I tried so much of the new make, so I was feeling very good when we left the distillery.
And the great thing is you can get into the kayak responsibly, of course, and kayak right down to Lismore Castle, and then from there into the sea if you want. So all in good time. Hopefully, you have to.
Yeah.
With a very nice. You put the picture back up there, Mareike. Can you put it back up again? Because if you want to come when we are open, which could be July, August. You see that balcony at the back there? This picture was taken when the stills were in, but the building wasn't functioning as a distillery. So what we have the entire first floor, which is behind that balcony, which wraps around the stills to where the photograph was taken. And if you come in, that whole area is yours. And what we've done is we've put a couple of beautiful, really soft sofas and chairs just at the top of the picture, where the very top right-hand corner. So you can sit there with your glass of whatever, and just listen to the stills and just listen to John screaming abuse at people, playing the fiddle, and yeah, it's quite intimate. As Tim said, it's if you want an intimate experience,
it is.
Absolutely.
It's quite
absolutely.
Und auf Deutsch ist, wie man sagt, ist sehr gemütlich. Sehr gemütlich.
Ja. Definitiv. Sehr gemütlich, ja. And I just want to show you up some comments because Sven says Irish whiskey is the next big thing. And other ones have already signed up. So here's another one. He will do it after the stream. And
excellent.
And this one, it's in German, but he says that you have beeindruckend, a wonderful distillery. So
vielen Dank. Und vielleicht in 3 Monaten wir können eine New Make Verkostung machen.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be great.
3 Monate, yeah.
And I know Thomas had already planned to visit you in March, and his flight was cancelled. So yeah. So, but maybe what I know, there's another one, Michael also signed up. So we should do something in autumn here online. That would be good. Yeah. And I know that the community always likes to know what will happen during the next half year or what they can expect, which casks are laid down and which special finishes you have. And maybe we can do something special for Germany. So maybe we can give them just a few for in the future, what we can do, what happened at Blackwater.
So what we did was we spent most of last year relearning how to make whiskey, which I've kind of touched on, because the skill to making pot still whiskey the way it was made has been lost. It hasn't been made like that since the 1970s. We had to kind of relearn how to do that. But on the way, we made some very funky and interesting whiskeys, which are currently in cask. Some of them were so funky and interesting, we won't ever make them again. There's one barrel in existence. Others were so good, we go back to them. So we spent a year working out what it is we really like making. And we're now currently producing that as quickly as we
can. And yeah, definitely to your point, Mareike, I think maybe September, October will be a good time to come back on, and we'll have a little bit more news about our online community, members club, and all that kind of jazz. So we're working on doing a bit of a potentially kind of a, you could sign up and get some benefits to check us out here in Ireland. You know, maybe be the first to know when our releases come out.
Yeah.
And have the option to buy them first, because if you're in it from the start, rising tides, you should be the first to get dibs on anything stuff John, Peter, and the guys bring out. So that's half the fun, you know.
I will tease you by saying we're bringing out 1, possibly 2 things next year.
Too much, Peter. Too much. Too much.
Too much. Okay, let's see what happened. Yeah, so here are lots of people here. Neil, he has to sign up. Neil, you definitely.
Of course you do now. You have to sign up now.
Yeah, and he also, Volker, he has signed up. I'll come to see you in Ireland next year. Perfect. And Dirk just said, habe ich gerade New Make Verkostung gehört. So they would really love to do a New Make tasting.
October is ein gutes Monat, glaube ich, für das idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we can work out something and do something special for Germany and the community here. That sounds great.
And hopefully we can come visit you anyway post-COVID times.
Hopefully
for a tasting in Germany.
Yes. So hopefully next year there will be again trade shows, and you can come and visit us on the trade show, or if not, maybe we can just set up an event for Blackwater and whiskeys and New Make and gin and have a good evening.
Viel Spaß.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
lots of drinking. Yes. Okay. Please make tasting kits with the funky ones, even they are very odd.
They're very, very odd. Very odd.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't want to try them. Yeah, and Claudia, I know she's still hoping to come to Ireland in September. She really likes your gins. She hasn't tried the Velvet Cap yet. It's just on the way to her. But she really liked the tangerine. I know the orange gin.
Oh, the Tenora.
The Tenora, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. She bought bottles in Germany, in Ireland, and brought them back to Germany for a pub where she was working. And yeah.
I think there's 10 cases left of that, Tim. Had a look at the stock take today.
Yeah, there's only 50, 60 bottles left, I'd say. Yeah, we randomly put that up online there around 2 weeks ago, and around 30 or 40 people bought some bottles because we only have around 100 bottles left of it. So yeah, we may have to do another distillation. Who knows? Yeah.
And Neil, we got our tasting room. My living room is always available for tastings. Neil, that's so nice.
Definitely. Well, look, tell Claudia and Neil if they do come to Ireland that we'd happily host them for an evening in Dungarvan and come check out the distillery. So that's half the fun, you know.
Yeah, Neil is writing a German blog about Irish whiskey. So
good.
He knows what he's talking about.
Nice.
He's always in Ireland every year normally.
Don't believe what they tell you about pot still whiskey because it's not true.
I told that not already to people that you told me last year that pot still whiskey is very different from the pot still we tried today. So yeah, and I really like that, and I always tell that people now. Yeah, I like things like that because everything is so much industry driven. And when you go and look a bit about the history, you find so many interesting things.
Yeah, awkward facts. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Facts that people don't want to talk about.
Yeah. Okay, I think we covered pretty much everything about the products and the distillery. Is there anything you would like to add?
Any questions? Your last chance?
Yes, last chance for questions. What would you like to see from Blackwater Distillery? Maybe the people would like to have a special cask or something. Some new ideas.
If you're lucky, you could play us out on your ukulele.
On ukulele, yeah. I'll have to get. I could sing you a song actually, Piano Man.
Yeah.
My ukulele's downstairs. Peter's given me ukulele there around 3 months ago, and I can play probably 4 chords repetitively, and but that's about it.
You're going to join our band. With a band, we have the Ireland's only most amazing funky distillery band.
Distillery band, yes.
Yeah, we have a trad band, the only trad band in the world to feature fiddle, mandolin, cello, electric guitar, and maybe a ukulele.
Maybe
wow.
Yeah. I think I'd actually pay to go see that as well. So yeah.
So the people can also get a little concert when they are visiting the distillery.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Serenade them with songs and whiskey.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So, Thomas would like to see rum casks.
I think Peter was saying we might do some rum cask finishes actually, because we're basically saying no to nothing really at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, there's some of the whiskey we made last year, which is very heavy wheat. So it's got 40% wheat. It's a very, very, very old pot still recipe. I think what John has thought after tasting it, being in cask for 6 or 7 months, is that possibly will be moved across to a rum cask now to give it a little bit of sweetness. So yeah, you can expect rum casks from us as well.
Very good. So Arpo says, well, the cap raised my interest. That's very good.
Good.
Nice.
Excellent, Arpa. When did you
And-
try it?
If you need a singer that can't sing, you got one.
Excellent.
And there is someone asking, he would like to camp at your balcony.
Yeah, we if funny,
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
we can put him in a tent, and as long as he behaves himself, you know, and he maybe charge him €50. That's about it.
Yeah, put away the alcohol. Very good. So thank you very much for taking your time.
Ja, und vielen Dank für
Ja.
deine Zeit auch.
Gerne.
Schönes Abend. Ich
Ja.
muss sagen,
Vielen Dank.
du siehst sehr schön aus heute Abend.
Danke.
Zu viele Whiskys gehabt, ich glaube. So yeah, vielen Dank für deine Zeit. Peter, thanks for putting up with my German. Mareike, I'm going to go down and have my dinner. So happy days.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking your time here, and to all the viewers, thank you very much for your comments and questions, and hopefully we can see each other soon in Ireland or in Germany.
Sounds
Thank you
good.
very much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.